really been that straightforward for Falcons. Cafe to settle this one, to see exactly which team is going to advance through into our semi-finals tomorrow. Sledge going to be the first operator banned and achieved, hitting us with that little bit of an unhappy face there in the all chat. It is, of course, going to be a direct counter to Achieve. The Chiefs loves playing a little bit of Sledge, and instead, it's the same ban that we saw over on Charlie to kick things off here tonight. It forces him onto alternate picks. We're going to see a Twitch and an Azami backed up there from TSM. Kind of strange to see TSM banning the Twitch, especially given how much TSM like to run Twitch. We've seen so many Mozzie pests be brought from Falcons. They are always running a Mozzie. They're always running a utility that you can destroy very easily with one of those Twitch shock drones. But to remove it, they have, of course, removed it from themselves as well. Azami and Mirror to round things out. Azami, bit of a no-brainer on Cafe. It's almost like the old Wamai. When you look to hold in somewhere like Piano, you're always going to be bringing in Azami to create those unusual angles and those pockets of safety.
I have to agree with you specifically on the Twitch ban. I don't really think we have seen the Falcons play into it too heavily either, so it's a strange one to be sure, but we'll, of course, be seeing how this affects potentially the Falcons when we get into it. Unlikely, though, just too useful, and more importantly, the drones too sneaky, as sometimes we'll see the sites left a little bit more exposed, so maybe there's some utility. They want to be defended a bit more heftily, such as these ADSs from the inside of Prep Kitchen, too. They don't want to be messed with in the midst of this round, and certainly don't want to be jumbling, trying to knock out those drones while they're in the midst of another gunfight. So it'll start down the stairs on the first floor here for the Falcons. This is a site we've seen be quite successful for the defenders, as it generally is for a lot of the sites here on Cafe, but also one of the more interesting ones to defend is you have multiple options in a way you can go about it. You can play the vertical game, go for that second or third floor extension and try to waste the time of your opponents, or you can play it out entirely on the first floor and look to delay from those exterior rooms surrounding the site. It looks like Falcons have gone for a little bit of a combination of both. They do have some presence extended over towards the Christmas room, while at the same time keeping a few players upstairs.
Nice drone there that's going to gather a good bit of information early on here for TSM. Joker could be finding himself in a little bit of trouble in Coat as well. O'Kill's got to be careful of that main door being opened, as TSM are well and truly in this fact-finding stage, searching out these little pieces of utility and making mental notes for later to tick on off. Kotos has remained alive here and is allowed to continue playing inside of Christmas Room there. Bolo is going to be the first one through and the first one out, as the Banshee distracted too much of his attention, and O'Kills heard the audio and took his chance.
Big swing from O'Kills as well, having to move all the way down from the second floor to accomplish it. Achieved. Oh, what a bait coming in here as well. Knew you had the player in Christmas, but you didn't know about J-Lad holding Whiskey, as well as the front door position. That's going to clear out the back of the garage, pushing, leave the Falcons in a very dominant position. You still have Joker out at Bakery too, distracting heavily here for if TSM want to press into it. Very split play from TSM, considering the player deficit as well. It's left only Merc and Geo in this fight. Merc with some snapshot frags coming out at least against Kotos, but that's only the first kill the team has found. They'll quickly back up from that. I believe look to reinsert themselves still from the same door in a few seconds later, but they want to try and bait out a rotation from the Falcons to give them a bit more room to play with.
TSM have been inside the building for the combined time of around 10 seconds at this point. Neither of the entries got anything done. Merc was in for a very short amount of time, picked a kill, sure, but then immediately had to hop his way out. He's gone back in now, he's going to be playing at the bottom of those brown stairs, but it's going to be quite a difficult task here for him and Geo to really get anything done. He's going to approach Freezer, that's of course where the diffuser is, at that Freezer door. Not sure if he's aware of the player on white, and by that gunfight I would say not. Mad Skills takes him down and leaves everything for Geo to do. The diffuser, of course, on the opposite side. Still a player in behind the bar. A Banshee, a Wub, a default camera. Take your pick, really. What do you go for? It's almost like an aim training simulator. No. There's 3 ADSs there. We saw them all placed earlier, Geo. I guess you didn't see them, although we certainly did. Going to try and smoke his way off and get himself into sight, but 30 seconds. Picks himself up one onto J-Lad. This is quickly turning into being quite doable. He's now got the cover and can start to work through into sight. It all depends on where Falcons choose to play. They know the kit is down on the ground, and all they've got to do is guard it. Doesn't get past the player on Whiskey, unfortunately. Mad Skills there, pops out at the opportune moment.
Well, it was a realistic play inside of the 1vx. Unfortunately, as you mentioned at the end, the case going down much earlier in the round towards white entry left the players on TSM without much of an option to realistically get it back. The early aggression strikes true from the Falcons. The unpredictable aggression, it seems, as well. At least 3 different fights where TSM just had no idea where the play was going to come from. And it's only when Gio is left alone in the 1vx that we start to see at least a little bit of that fought back. Certainly going to be helping him out in terms of trying to go for those bounty prizes at the end of the tournament, but he's not going to save the round. As the first one goes heftily into the control of the Falcons, and we see them move swiftly up towards the second floor, where they're actually going to go for the dining hold. This is generally the lower picked one, at least inside of North America, as we do see teams trending towards our hold over, or actually no, sorry, big mistake there. We do see teams choosing into this one a little bit more often, with Train, as I correct myself, being the secondary choice. It's actually a bit of it sarcastic.
I mean, top floor is out of favor, right? Like, there's no two ways about it. Top floor is very difficult. I find that, particularly in the seeds that I watch, this is more common than Train. Train has sort of risen in popularity, sure, but of course, if TSM aren't necessarily used to attacking here all the time, it could be a good choice from the Falcons to throw them into what is seen as maybe a third or a joint second pick. I guess we will see the top floor at some point, but we've got to get a few more rounds under the defenders' belts until they're really out of options until we get up there. A little bit of opening aggression was not successful, although we did get eyes on an attacker there. That's one of the more challenging things about Cafe as a map, at least for attackers. You look at the time, there's 30 seconds already gone. We've still got players on rappel trying to get themselves onto the roof, which is typically a pretty good place to start. But you do lose out on quite a good amount of your rounds, so you do have to be very efficient from that point onwards.
So as Falcons look to try and lock this one in, or this is going to be a bold play from Kotos if he full commits to it here. And indeed he does. Great follow through onto the head of Merc as well. Wasn't able to so easily track him, as mind you, there was virtually zero cam intel coming into that play, but still he makes it happen and is going to leave a very frustrated Merc dead on the roof of the building.
Not ideal for Oriana. You want to be trying to get those Geminis out there, gather that information. More importantly, in this situation, use those nades. You've only brought 2, and Merc's died with 1 in pocket. Sure, you might have the wall open at the top of those red stairs, but there's a lot more to do inside of this round. Achieved at least is going to be able to use this skeleton key to start ripping open a little bit of the floor inside of Piano, as Bolo starts to make his way in through shop. Does have some drones working ahead of him, but with a Valkyrie in tow, it's going to be very difficult to gather these pockets of safety. There's a C4 waiting below and a couple of impacts if it really comes down to it for Falcons to start being aggressive on their own terms.
Nitro out, but more than likely not going to be able to sing this early on in the round here. You can see the yellow ping in terms of where it's been positioned, but obviously this camera going to determine when it actually goes off. He might be tracked as well there. Joker just decides to blow it up to open up the top-down angle anyway. He knew full well that there was no one near it, but just decided he's wasted enough time from this position. Bolo, realizing that TSM is quickly running out of time, is also going to try to make his own move down white, but he also catches that camera teammate, potentially helping him out with that call out as well, potentially Merc doing so from the grave. Either way, though, it stems the push coming in from our member of TSM. Bolo's going to hold himself back. Doesn't really have the option to at this point, though. We need to see some type of aggressive play show up from TSM here, because they're down to only 30 seconds now, and they just cannot find any of the members of the Falcons out in the open.
It's not looking like a good end to the round here for TSM. They've been very unsuccessful up until this point. They've taken that top floor control. They've not been able to get any kills. And JLad is going to add on to that pain, shutting down Gio. Pojo next to fall, and that's usually the kit which will be called on the ground. Joker shuts Bolo down from inside of sight. His location was known. The pre-fire unsuccessful. Achieved, you've got 6 seconds and a dream, my friend. Grabs himself another before JLad shuts him down.
And so, we see another consistent round being brought up on the defense here of Cafe. The Falcons surge ever closer towards victory in this series, and TSM just not able to get themselves off of that third floor positioning, struggling to even get themselves into the building to begin with, as we saw that great pick, this one right here from Kotos, to be able to take out Merc at the beginning of the round, and then kill after kill snuck in against the members of TSM, just could not find the winning angle, all except for Achieve there that gets 1, and ultimately, it's all the Falcons here as they give us 2 very convincing rounds to start out their defense. We'll see if they can complete the set with a perfect rotation as they go up to the top floor for their final hold.
Here we have it, the top floor, often seen as one of the more risky sites for a defender to take, especially given the utility available to attackers. There are a couple of different ways to approach this. With achieved 6-picking off the book onto the Iana, you can pretty much be rest assured that we're not going to see all too much action in toward the east side of things. If you're going to bring a book, usually you're going to target in toward Cocktail, get a couple of players out on the rappel, and look to try and work your way through that way. And the Iana signifies, you know, a much more basic push. You're going to go and take control of red, you're going to take control of piano, and try and work your way in through that side. Still, not easy, and certainly easier to say than do, especially when you've still got the threat of this Valkyrie. And if bakery doors open, you're going to be usually pretty concerned.
Away from that, slow start to the round as we generally would expect here. TSM going to need to build themselves up for that top floor clear. Falcons being quite proactive, specifically Joker down in this first floor position as well. So it's important to note what you may potentially be able to do with that here. Once the members of TSM secure themselves up on the top floor, Madskill is going to take a very aggressive position over here in Cigar, and he's going to be locked into the fight now. Bolo trying to spam into it, but an impact hits him right in the face. Max damage from a single impact there as he's brought down to right under 50 HP.
C4 does get thrown on. Ow, Madskills isn't finished yet though. Shuts the drone down, trains his sights back onto the angle. Bolo gonna hit a reload before he repeats onto that. She doesn't need to rush all too much. So we're starting to see this wall be attempted to be open now, but there is going to be a little bit of denial on there that's just going to stop it from going through. A couple of well-placed mute jammers are all it takes, and it means that only the side of the wall can be opened. Nades now going down as well, as Merc, recognizing that that door was left open, is searching here and is actually going to find Joker out on the drone. It's going to give him a little bit of an early warning system, but no one there to capitalize on the frag.
Bolo still waiting for this capability to knock out Madskills, and he's just not going to be able to find it. Great use of the Valkyrie cameras as well. They're going to be up to date on when these red hatch drops are coming through. They know that Merc has committed himself to it now. Merc obviously with good overwatch downstairs, but he's going to be locked into this as they do need to pay close attention to this. They know that they had the Thunderbird moving out, but that's a surprising pickup there. Joker, certainly you'd expect him to be aware of the play coming in from Merc, but not in this scenario here. Madskills still striking from the inside of Cigar, nearly catching Merc there as well. Is going to continue to cause problems from the back of Piano. He's going to go for one more. Nope. Some teammate support's going to come in. It's O-Kills to push the direct red door to knock him out and leave only Geo not even inside the building yet on rappel. He'll get one more pickup, obviously. A muted Nitro cell there with the player with the charge now being dead, but still a long way to go considering he doesn't even have access to the interior just yet, and he only has 35 seconds to change it up.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
To pick up the diffuser and maybe work his way through, but 30 seconds, 3 kills to find, 1 kill a second. Oof. Nitro Cell is gonna do it, especially one that lands at your feet. No time to shoot it out either. Worrying round from TSM, I must admit. Merc died with 2 adrenal surges left on Finker. That's Finker's best kit, obviously aside from the LMG. We don't even talk about the LMG anymore. But the adrenal surges, they're what's going to give you the edge in those gunfights. That's what's going to give you the ability to just stim your teammates up ever so slightly. Even a panic push of that as you enter your engagement sometimes is enough to come out better for it. But TSM just taking a lot of solo fights there and not looking to really work off those trades. Repel with Zafir's LMG. There's not many people that are expected to come away better on that engagement, but Madskills was just fearless, really stood his ground, and that's the clean sweep for Falcons. They can go back downstairs now and look to do it all over again.
Falcons continue to shock the world here as they sit just 4 rounds away now from being able to close out the series against the world champions and send themselves onto our playoff bracket in the semifinals, which will be starting tomorrow afternoon. Away from that, though, the rotations restart. TSM has seen the full brunt of the Falcons' defense, assuming, of course, they don't have a pocket strat for mining as well, but we'll have to wait and see on that if Falcons run into any issues. Of course, this starts the rerun for them. Back downstairs where they started this game out at. Let's see how TSM are going to try and course correct.
Bolo going to be rocking the IQ, and a criticism that was made of Bolo earlier on today was the fact that some of their IQ play wasn't fantastic, especially when going up against the Valkyrie. Fortunately for Bolo, there is no Valkyrie this time. It's something that we've seen Falcons bring quite regularly, and why not? If Valkyrie's open on Cafe, get it locked in, get it selected as a defender, because there are not many other operators better for gathering that information and, of course, that bring that C4. However, in this round, at least, Falcons have opted for no Valk, but instead they are still going to be holding these pretty aggressive locations. J-Lad, how have you not been droned there? He gets away with it.
I think he was, to an extent. I did see a drone like jump over the hatch almost to try and quick peek him there, but I don't know if it was actually looking at J-Lad.
I don't know who's got luckier out of that engagement, I'll be honest with you.
Either way, it's going to be a bit of an awkward one with both players just backing away from each other at the end of the fight. You can see here Mad Skills as well, dashing out of a crossfire that's sent against him, I believe, from the depths of Cigar there. Eventually, Merc sending out those shots and nearly getting Mad Skills. No Thunderbird, which we've seen commonly played in the lineup here for the Falcons. Great spray from Bolo as well. Take a bullet or two of damage in response. They've got the camera to lock in the fact they indeed downed him, but the members of Falcons may not be aware of this just yet. You can see his teammate, though, backing away. Bolo nearly chains both of those together, but a smart move from the teammate there on the Falcons. Has to leave him for dead, unfortunately, but the one that came to res and will survive to fight another day.
TSM chaining the kills together now as Gio's going to double down onto this. A very nicely timed stim. Oh, Kills, you have an opportunity, but you're caught looking the wrong way, my friend. Gio there to collect his second and leave a lot for Kotos to do. TSM, they are responding fantastically, especially given the way that round one went when we saw this exact same site. They have opted for a bit more of a full map clear, and they're not just piling through single doorways to try and get the job done. Final defender resides inside of Christmas, as TSM have plenty of time, but more importantly, plenty of drones to figure out what they want to do. Quick little bit of information there is going to tell them all they need to know. Case firmly in Pojo Man's hands. I imagine that's going to start getting placed down pretty soon, as there we can see Pojo light up gold. Kotos finds one onto achieved. That is a warning shot to say to TSM, play this one a little bit safer. You do have the plant down, but there is still a player that you are not wanting to challenge onto here, at least not wanting to challenge in a solo fashion. Gio, fantastic round from him, 3 kills there, and that's going to do a lot to boost TSM here.
Falcons constantly just trying to fight back against the losses they were sustaining on the inside of that round. A bit of an unfamiliar experience for them, at least here on Cafe, as they had controlled those early kills and had no problem locking out any of the aggression coming in from TSM prior to this. This time, they lose one, try to send more players into support, and even res one of the players that have been down. That then locks that player into library, making it an easy pickup once they're able to establish top white stairs control to pinch down upon that. We see more examples of that throughout the round as well, and it's only when they're brought down to about 2 players remaining that they finally pull it back to the site. By that point, unfortunately, it's just far too gone, and TSM have a near 5v2 locked in there.
We are going to see Falcons stick to their rotation. They're not going to give it another attempt downstairs. Instead, they're going to go, look, they figured out our downstairs. We're just going to go back up to reading and dining instead. And we'll see if they figured out up there as well. A couple of changes coming in on the TSM side of things. Bolo has opted away from the Ying onto a Zephyr.
10 seconds to go.
And Achieved has gone from the book to the book. He did briefly hover the Lion, and I was a little bit excited, but instead that's going to go up to Bolo. So they are still going to rock with the Lion. It's just going to be on a different player. J-Lad, hello. This is a pretty extravagant run out, my friend. All of that for just a 1 second.
Early.
It was keen. Mad Skills as well. Falcons, what's going on, guys? Like, they just can't wait to get into it.
To be fair, keeping TSM on their toes, making them second guess their movements here. This is part of the philosophy probably with going to the second floor hold as well, forcing the constant adjustments from TSM. You saw it there from Bolo, wanting to bring the Ying in. That would have left an option for the hatch drop execute into kitchen there by going in through dining room had they needed to attack that site for a second time, but obviously not going to be the case. So we see the repick of the Lion. Try to get some better intel as, again, we just saw it there at the beginning of the round. Falcons have no problem running a rampant around this map, and if they can time it correctly to catch them with an EE1D charge, that'll be all the better for this round.
TSM have at least all made it safely up onto the roof, which isn't something that happens every time for them. A couple of Valkyrie cameras there. I think the Valkyrie camera that's just been thrown outside will lose signal, unfortunately, but for Joker, it might have given him a little glimpse of information that he needed. Of course, does have a C4, and oftentimes we'll see C4s thrown up through the hatches to deal with players on the roof. It can be a little bit more of a Hail Mary or a little bit of a random throw, but sometimes it does reward the defender. TSM fully in this drone phase now as the first Lion scan comes out, the first of 3 potentially. Valkyrie cameras gathering quite a bit of info again. It's a little bit of a dance that we've seen of the IQ. Is it going to be brought? Is it not? And it seems as though Bolo just can't get that timing right to bring it when when Valkyrie is being brought.
The ping is there, as once again those Valkyrie cameras have been hidden. The ruse of this map, very prop heavy, so lots of places to potentially hide out those cameras. You can see two different players soft pinging that Lion's position right now as you saw them stack for just a pure moment there. But Falcons unfortunately not going to be able to find a pure execution upon that. They try to play this game a bit more cautiously, so you can see the adjustments already showing up for the last round when there is the threat of a refrag from TSM. Falcons no longer wanting to jump directly out into that fight, and with good reason. As you see here, Pojaman able to control that early kill for himself, and Merc landing a nice nade against O-Kills as well. Leaves TSM in a good position here to follow through with the side execute. Now they've brought it down to a 5v3.
Couple of kills there for TSM and another Lion scan to boot. Still one here to go. As we can hear that Skeleton Key starting to rip open the floor. TSM look for further angles here. Merc going to be tasked with watching onto those white stairs. The C4 all the way through is not going to be successful. Joker, site's going to start getting a pretty small place here, and J-Lad just trying to make his own rotation there for the meantime. He's going to be one of only two players left alive here as another Lion scan comes out. J-Lad fearless gives his position away as Merc picks up his third. The LMG really working for him in this round. Pojo consistent as ever, nailing that diffuser to the ground. Kotos is left inside a fireplace. Does manage to grab himself one, but with the plant down, well, we've been here before.
Right.
Great shot through the wall, but Bolo there to shut him down.
Yeah, good to follow through. As once again, we see these 1vx's always get played out to the bitter end due to the bounty prizes sitting at the end of the tournament, but obviously not a realistic comeback inside of that round. TSM seem to have figured out how to push out, especially the early prowess from the Falcons here. They're on a bit of a rampage themselves. 2 rounds in a row without much resistance showing up in the mid-round from the Falcons. And as a result of that, they've just got one more round to go to potentially tie us up at an even score for halftime, but they'll have to complete the set to do it. Big question for the Falcons too. Do they want to go to that full third floor site? Or it's going to be a little bit risky for the defense. I've seen this played out a little bit. They'll choose not to. Instead, we're going to see them play into that same site downstairs on the second floor.
I think if TSM are able to get 3 here, that would be considered a very successful attacking phase on Cafe. The level of coordination that it requires is oftentimes quite a lot. Certainly your efficiency with time can really start to be a little bit of a factor. TSM are going to be more than happy, I think, going back down to this site, given how successful they were here previously. The Valkyrie cameras not really causing too much difficulty. Falcons might have the intel, but they're not always winning the gunfights, and they're certainly not always in the right place at the right time. And with only bringing a couple of nitro cells, I guess this time at least they've brought 2, they might have a little bit more chance to make good on some of that information.
We have seen the Thunderbird make another reappearance here from the Falcons as well, stacking them quite heavily on the inside of the chassis over by Library there, so going to create a nice safe fallback point for the Falcons. We've already seen them use that before, but again, they just cannot find this opening kill anymore. 3 rounds in a row now that a member of TSM, and I believe it's 2 rounds in a row at least for Merc, that he's been able to pick up this opening kill. Arguably one of the most influential players on the Falcons going down to it as well. Joker knocked down, obviously a little bit worse for wear in this game, sitting at 2 and 6. We've seen him come alive time and time again before.
Gio on a little bit of a crouch walk on the Nook. Could have caused a ruckus if he gets to the bottom of those white stairs in a fairly sneaky fashion, but Falcons are going to make a rotation, getting themselves up onto that top floor and looking to hold a little bit more ground here. Having lost Joker, there is going to be a gap that they need to plug up there. It's Pojo going to start to open up the wall at the bottom of that red hatch again. Patience for TSM at the moment, as they don't need to really rush this round. There's still quite a lot of time remaining, and they've gained a little bit of control. The worst thing that they could do now is to run headlong into Falcons without confirming that next step inside of drones.
Mad Skills, smooth as ever with that nitro as well. We just switched to his POV and casually pops off a kill for himself against Bolo. At least makes up the difference from the earlier pickup, but we'll see Kotos as well be left quite low here, so he's still going to have to find a way to contribute, and thankfully he'll get it. We remember those Kona stations that were placed down in the library. He's going to get a massive boost from that HP. Gio, though, going to push the sneak in here to contest against it, but no, can't win out the gunfight. Mad Skills with his reboosted HP is going to be able to take it instead, and that's now the lead maintained, at least in terms of player count for the Falcons. Finally as well, things were looking bleak on this second quarter of the game, but might be recovering here on the final round.
these nitro cells from below that are getting pre-placed from the Falcons are going to be very dangerous, especially now that they've got Joker to literally sit there and watch the camera in a dedicated way. Nitro or not, O'Kills is going to get the job done though. Just says, you know what, I've got the spear, I'm just going to chew through the floor. Then detonates the Nitro and picks up one onto Merc. That's 2 for 2 on Nitro kills here. Achieve gets the black eye camera, but it's too little too late, I'm afraid. You're now 1 versus 4, and you've got a lot to do inside of 30 seconds. About to be swung here on side of Lumber. I think he's got the skeleton key active for that close range engagement. Was he anticipating 2? Snags himself 1 and chip damage onto a second. We're now using Impact to try and rip open that floor as everyone on the side of Falcons thirsts for this kill. Has Achieved his left desperately to pre-fire angles, but didn't anticipate Mad Skills rotating up white.
It's once again the Valkyrie cameras saving the day as we saw Achieved realize it just a bit too late. A little bit of an unfortunate moment for TSM. Had they taken that out earlier, we more than likely would not have seen at least one of those Nitro kills go off, potentially the second as well. And obviously, would have left TSM in a much more fighting condition to actually make a play for the site. Not going to happen this time, though, despite the early kill, as we saw from Merc going into their favor. They are not able to follow it through into the depths of the site. Great cam intel coming out there once again. You can see how these Valkyrie cams are helping them out with the soft pings, able to take down those players up on top, still on droning directly through the floorboards. That's going to leave the Falcons in control of the game now as we enter the second half. Only up by 2 rounds, though, so this is still very easily winnable for TSM if they can get themselves off to a good start.
We've been here before, 4-2 splits, 2-4 splits. Whilst it's a good advantage for the Falcons to have, it's nothing to set your life on. You've still got to fight for every single round here, especially when you're dealing with TSM on the defense, because those little Valkyrie cameras, guess what? TSM have got Valkyrie now, and Achieve's wasting no time picking onto it. They could actually double down with a little bit of info here, bringing Bolo, kind of almost forcing this plant meta, saying, look, if you want to get in and get the plant down, you're going to have to chew through quite a bit. 3 Toxic Babe canisters, we've got the Echo, we've got a C4, we've got plenty of information, we've got a little bit of utility burn in there as well. There's not much more that you would be left wanting out of a defender lineup here for Cafe.
All right, so let's see if TSM can indeed find a solid start for themselves with the upstairs hold being in play. You see Mad Skills working himself just up for the rappel right now, not looking to try and get himself into any early fights on the second floor or anything like that. He's got a job to do, in fact, of trying to open up these hatches real quickly, as we did not see a sledge get brought in quite obviously as he's banned out, nor do we see a buck either. Interestingly enough, we are still going to end up on the defensive side with an operator that we don't see popping up too often, but he has his place now in specific maps and specific sites. Bolo there on the Echo, gonna see if he can maybe clutch things out. Unfortunately, he's got a hard counter playing against him on the other side there. This IQ, I believe, already finding both of those yokai drones as well, so that may be all of the utility from Bolo. I think one's still gonna be alive deeper in the site, but at least that first one in Cigar already dealt with.
It's almost a shame when you bring the Valkyrie, you attract the IQ pick, and then the Yokais just immediately get countered with that as well. Sometimes can be the benefit by just bringing one or the other. There's then a decision to be made as, is IQ actually worth it? Sure, you might know where that utility is, but dealing with it is a entirely different matter again. Falcons have taken things fairly slowly, as is to be expected. They're not looking to run headlong into anything at the moment, although Merc will see success early on, taking down O-Kills.
It's 3 rounds in a row that Merc's got the opening kill as well. Might even be more than that, but I only started paying attention to it that far back. Either way, impressive in his capability to constantly pick this up. Good reaction from Joker to get himself out of the way, and now the trade. In fact, let's make it 2 from Joker and JLad as the Falcons take back control here, bringing it down to a 4v3. Another one to be added to the counter for Joker as well, as he sinks the nade right on top of Pojo Man to leave only Merc alive, as well as Geo, both going to play relatively close to each other here by Cocktail. Will they be able to still maintain against the rest of the push? Falcons do need to form it up. They should have the additional time necessary to do so. Might need to speed it up a little bit here, though. They're down to 45 seconds and still moving at quite a leisurely pace.
I mean, J-Lad's got himself into a reasonable spot. He's on side of Pillar, but he needs a bit of support around him. Merc's going looking here, and he might find something if he goes for a full rotation, depending on the drone utility that's left available, if there are any flank drones up. Merc gets a chance there, doesn't take it, gains a little bit of composure and finds one. Can he grab the second? No, fluffs it on the second. Joker there to collect his third. J-Lad, 2 kills on the round for J-Lad, 3 kills on the round for Joker. Falcons, they advanced that lead by 1.
Mark, the only true hope for TSM in that round, picking up 2, including the opening entry, but the rest of the squad just not able to contend against both the utility as well as that entry power coming in from the Falcons. The strength of their attacks continue to shine through, even on sites that traditionally can be quite difficult for the attackers to find that opening blow or two. And now leaves them in pole position here to surge directly forward. There's the score for you. 2 rounds to go. You are going to see the Falcons move forward into the playoff bracket. NA, unfortunately, not be able to send a team forward at that point. It's downstairs now for TSM. The 3rd floor hold does not work out, so let's go to something that hopefully is going to be a little bit easier for us as we instead hold on to the kitchen.
I think it was a bold choice to go upstairs straight away for TSM. I don't necessarily think that was, the most well-advised decision. Obviously, hindsight is a wonderful thing to be sat on a desk being able to say that about. But at least they're going downstairs to mix things up, not looking to really bang their head against the wall that is that top floor site. Instead, changing things up. And they're going to play it in a rather interesting way. They've opened up that freezer hatch. They've got a lot of rotations in and around that back wall as well. They've reinforced off the garage, so obviously you've still got the doorway that you can look to try and take advantage of, but we all know what funneling through a single doorway is like. You're just going to have to use the hard breach in a slightly different location, realistically. It's not too much for Falcons to deal with, but it just gives them something to think about.
All right, so another round, another chance for TSM to potentially save their tournament lives. The Falcons quickly going to work to deal with some of these exterior castle barricades, as thankfully we have the IQ with those breaching charges, so that's going to be quite the easy job. In fact, you got just as many as you need to be able to knock out those barricades. Away from that, Joker will be putting his attention over towards the side entrance by the white entry there. He'll be able to move himself in and start to pay attention to if we'll have that horizontal extension from TSM. I don't believe we're actually going to be, correct myself, we do, but regardless, we're not going to be able to see Merc pick up the first kill. It was 3 rounds in a row that he was able to find it for himself, but finally, it's been broken as instead the Falcons will take him down instead to give them the first kill.
Falcons have got some really good drones placed out here as well. Gio just going to rotate himself back into Bakery. A C4 does get thrown out. Won't be detonated right now, but likely Merc sat on cameras waiting to give that call. Kutos going to be able to find out those Valkyrie cameras, so maybe that C4 just comes to nothing and it might now be relied upon sound to detonate. That, or Kutos is going to find it out himself on IQ scanner. A little bit of a ping to work with there. Confusing because we can't see anything on the other side of that. As a nade flies in, it won't cause Gio too much concern, but it gives a little bit of a pre-fire onto the door as a courtesy.
See Gio patiently waiting for an opportunity to frag. Doesn't know where that pressure is going to come from. Currently has the correct read in positioning himself against the red take. In fact, 2 players watching out for that as O'Kill sits just on the second to last landing. He's going to be trying to wait himself for a cross from the inside of kitchen, but it's quite sparse on the inside of that site right now, so more than likely not going to be able to be met with it. Gio trying to dodge out that nade, but it leaves him out of position. Thankfully, Pojo Man quick to correct on that for the inside of Kochek. He finds the trade onto Joker and keeps things winnable here for TSM, although they'll still be down a player, but the Falcons starting to get low on time as well.
The only thing really that TSM have got going in their favor right now is going to be the time. They don't have a C4, and a 1-for-1 trade isn't really what you want to be looking at here. 3 versus 2 in favor of the Falcons. He's got a yellow ping, but he's not going to use it. He flicks on at the last second, and Pojo Man will fall. Achieved inside of VIP, finds himself 1. Can he pick the second? There's going to be 1 on Whiskey Bar. He had no idea. Falcons, they get themselves another round here and 1 step closer to our semifinals tomorrow.
The timing on the hop-in from Kotos is enough to fend off the potential clutch for the last player alive on TSM. And now just 1 round to go for this squad. And they'll be able to push themselves forward into our semifinals. Will they complete the set, or do we have another heroic comeback in the makings for TSM? Looking more likely for the Falcons at this point if we're real about it, but at the same time, we've already seen 1 surprising comeback earlier today. Space Station having that 6-1 lead over Liquid that they were unable to close out upon. They brought it back, and now TSM has to pull off arguably something just as impressive here, bringing 4 rounds in a row for themselves, and that's just to get us to overtime.
It's not like TSM are a team that aren't used to the pressure either. They won SI earlier this year. They have seen the most pressure there is to see. They're just being outclassed at every turn. You've only got to take a quick look at the scoreboard to see just how much some of these players are struggling to consistently maintain any sort of positive KD or consistent engagement. I think Merc really, for me, is one of the only ones in this map at least that's been out there on that entry, and he's often found a lot of those entry kills. They've just always not resulted in a round win for TSM, which of course is always a little bit of a problem. TSM looking to mix things up now. Nowhere they've gone so far on the defense has worked for them, so why not try their last hope? Will that be enough of a difference here, or are the Falcons just holding a little bit too much momentum as we move into what could be the final round of play tonight?
Seeing how the Falcons will start this one out. A little bit of fire setting against them, but it reveals not just one, but two players from the TSM side of things. J-Lad with the perfect engagement on his timing. Knocks out achieved. Knocks out about half of the HP from Pojoman as well. It's a good thing Pojoman keeps himself in this. Obviously, they need this player count now to bring it back, but the record has not been great for TSM, and losing that initial control for a second round in a row is going to cost them heftily if they had any more aggressive plans to try and swing out on this round.
A lot of information to be gathered as well on that IQ as we see nades start to come in. Merc going to start to feel that pressure. This is stuck inside of the freezer. A little bit of a stim up there from Joker just to keep his team in good health. Pojo getting rid of that C4 before he inevitably gets sent to the cameras, as he's only one bullet away right now with the SMG. Not in great form to take an extended gunfight here. You do get to this point in the round and start to worry about the timing for the Falcons. They do tend to take their foot off the gas a little bit, but it hasn't done them any harm up to now.
Yeah, caution, especially considering the pre-fire damage that's been done from nades and other sources to some of the members on TSM. Certainly gonna be nothing to worry about. Oh, Bolo almost gets unlucky there with the nade positioning and has to go while blind. Ends up getting hit via another one, and he'll be brought down to just under half HP as well. Every single member of TSM has now been peppered to an extent, but you can say that a bit about some of the members of the Falcons as well. Either way, it's gonna be a messy round for both teams to clean it up. Things continuing to look good for the Falcons, but TSM starting to get a bit more adventurous, but at the same time, quickly running out of players with which they can go on that adventure. Down to two now. Gio knows he needs to activate now. What a great kill to grab. Catches a second player on the camera too, and suddenly brings TSM back into this round. But the case is down. A misstep from Pojoman as he walks right into Joker's crosshair. And now it's all up to Gio. We've seen this clutch in the past from him, but it's not going to show up today. The Falcons knock out North America and move Meta on into the semifinals here at Gamers8.
I don't think that anyone thought that we were going to see this happen here today. We know what a team like TSM is capable of. Our SI winners this year.